The jaw relation recording device. This device facilitates jaw relation recordings of the complete edentulous patient. The patient with one arch that is edentulous opposing a dentate, or both arches dentate or partially dentate. Also, the jaw relation recording device facilitates the fabrication of orthopedic splints and is also used to equilibrate a full or partial denture. We are now going to discuss the mounting of the jaw recorders for the edentulous patient. As seen here, we have cast of the definitive impressions. We have then made customized base plates, both for the mandibular and maxillary arches. This is a close-up showing the definitive resin bases. What you're seeing now is the jaw relation recording device. On the left, you will see a sprue with 5 attachments. You will see a parallel spacer plate. Top left. Top right, a pin receiver small, a striking plate large, a pin receiver large, a striking plate small. And on the right, you will see a pivoting nut and pin. This is a view of both the top side and the bottom side. In this view, you will see the striking plate in the upper left-hand corner. This is the area that will contact the pin. On the lower right, you will see the underside of the striking plate. This has 3 retentive projections which will hold in the light-cured material to affix it to a base. In this view, you are seeing the long pin receiver. The upper left side is the area that will face up and where the nut will insert. The lower right is the bottom half. Another view on the upper left-hand corner is the large pin receiver. Note here the projection. This circular projection is the area that the nut will insert. On the lower right side, we see the pin receiver small. One will be used for a larger area and one will be used for a smaller area. Many times after removing this device from the tree, there will be a small little knob. It is necessary to relieve this so that the patient does not have any discomfort. Now we're going to affix the lower pin receiver onto the lower base plate. In this case, we are going to use the large pin receiver. We are now going to put a strip of light cure material around the acrylic base plate. It is necessary, however, to use a bonding agent prior to the addition of this light cured resin. We will then take the lower receiving device and place this into the softened light cured material. As seen on the top left view, it is very easy to depress this into the soft material, and in the lower right hand you see where I am placing a small amount of material over the top. This will help adhere this to the lower acrylic resin and the base. In this view, it should be noted that the pin receiver is approximately parallel with the retromolar pad and is below approximately 1/2 of the retromolar pad in height. You can now light polymerize until final set. We will now put a parallel spacer plate onto the lower pin receiver. This simply snaps in and will allow easy placement of the upper striker plate onto the maxillary base. It is necessary to snap rather firmly with your finger and thumb and try to eliminate putting any pressure on the acrylic resin plate. Once it's snapped in place, this will act as a guide to place the upper striking plate and will give room for the pin. We are now placing a light cured resin on the maxillary base resin. We will then take the maxillary striking plate and compress this into the resin. It is now necessary to take the upper striking plate and position this over the top of the parallel. This parallel plate will help parallel both the upper striking plate to the lower pin receiver. We will then polymerize until cure. It is now necessary to remove the parallel plate. Once this is completely removed, you will now take the nut without the pin, and compress the nut into the receiving area. Note, this is extremely tight and is a friction grip and will take pressure in order to insert it to its completion. Once it has been completely inserted, then the pin can be placed in. Note, the nut can pivot. However, once the pin is placed into position, it should be then positioned in a vertical area. As seen here, we now have the set recording device both on the lower and on the upper completed. Note, the maxillary striking plate is placed relatively parallel with the lower and has a slight anterior-posterior inclination. This view shows the lower pin receiver. The pin may be set straight up and down in a vertical position or can be tilted if, when placed in the mouth, the pin does not strike the upper plate perpendicularly. The rationale for the rotating pin will allow the practitioner to make sure that the pin strikes the upper plate in a perpendicular arrangement.